Welcome everyone to another Total War Warhammer 2 online multiplayer replay. Today, thanks to the Omen sending in a Tomb Kings vs Dark Elf replay, we have the chat of all chats, Settra the Imperishable going against the Morathi, the Witch of the Dark Elves. Now let us slow down a bit so that we can appreciate the army builds. Over here for the Tomb Kings, we have Settra the Imperishable, the man, the myth, the legend, coming in with the Blessed Blade of Settra, as well as the Unyielding Wheel to provide a little bit of melee assistance in the combat. Now for the Tomb Prince, coming in with Guardian, it will provide some physical resistance to Settra the Imperishable, making him forever more tanky. Behind them there are some Nehekhara horsemen, a very good mid-tier cavalry. They should be able to repel a lot of those Dark Riders, melee or crossbows. And further back we have some Necropolis Knights. In the front line for the infantry we have the Tomb Gods here, holding the front line so that they can tank out the Dark Elf infantry will rush for a little longer. At the back we have some skeleton spears and also a Screaming Skull catapult protected by the Scorpion Legion. On the right flank we have another Necropolis Knight, these monstrous cavalry with decent melee stats and also really good armor piercing value, also poison attacks. They should be able to countercharge any Dark Elf mobility and also pin in monstrosities and lords. Now for the Dark Elf army, we have a front line of Dread Spears and Black Ark Corsairs. At the back we have the Dark Riders with repeater crossbows, 4 of them in fact, protected by some Dark Riders with shields. On this flank, this is all the killing power of the Dark Elves, with the Slaanesh Harvesters coming in with their Soul Stealer, and also Scourge Runner Chariots supporting this fight. All these armor-piercing anti-large missiles will be a huge pain for the Necropolis Knights to deal with. So these Necropolis Knights probably not long for this world. In the skies we have Morathi here coming in with Soul Stealer, Enchanting Beauty, and also her signature Heart Render and the Dark Sword, providing a lot of melee debuffs, lowering the hit chance of all the skeleton units as they do not exactly have the highest melee attack. And with the army builds out of the way, let's get the battle started. As the battle begins, seeing that most of the mobility of the Tomb Kings are on this flank, the Dark Elf player just pushed forward with all this Slaanesh Harvesters as well as Scourge Runner Chariots and all these Dark Riders with crossbows driving towards this flank, trying to focus this flank down, finish off the Necropolis Knights and collapse into the rest of the Tomb King's army. So seeing this, the Tomb King's army just pulling back all their mobility there, including the heroes, and using the Screaming Skull catapults to thin down the Black Ark Corsairs before they can engage, clashing into the infantry. So in retaliation, a Doom Bolt is dropped onto the artillery, killing one model. While over here, we have the Necropolis Knights countercharging a bunch of Dark Riders, actually not Dark Riders, but Slaanesh Harvesters. However, the word of pain from the Slaanesh Harvesters massively debuffing their melee attacks down to 0. Unable to do too much damage, they are pinned down and getting shot in the back by the Scourge Runner Chariots. Fortunately, there are some King of Nehekhara Scorpion Legion pushing in to support. However, their stats are debuffed by Morathi's Heart Render as well as Enchanting Beauty, so they are not doing the best job in dragging down the Slaanesh Harvesters. They are now down to 0 melee attack, almost having no hit chance at all. And the Slaanesh Harvesters are pulling out of this combat, trying to beat back these Nehekhara horsemen who have caught some of these Scourge Runner Chariots. And now finally the Tomb King's heroes are making back to combat. Let us slow down a bit to appreciate this duel between the heroes, as Morathi, getting stuck in combat against all these poisonous Scorpion Legion, is not able to pull out from combat, so she dropped a Soul Stealer trying to do some damage and keep herself alive. But now Settra has charged into the fray. Dropping a Blade of Settra from the Tomb Prince here, Tomb Prince buffed up by Tomb Strike, they're able to get some massive charge damage on Morathi, but this is not the end, as the Blessed Blade of Settra debuffing Morathi massively with that blinding attack down to 16 melee defense. The anti-large King of Nehekhara, Settra the Imperishable, as well as the Tomb Prince cares not for the enchanting beauty of the Witch of the Dark Elves, for they have no such earthly desires, their only concern is their eternal reign. And Morathi, being 2v1, simply gets dominated by the two Tomb Kings characters. Now reaching critical health, Morathi has to pull away from combat as she routs. But Settra is hot in pursuit. Another massive hit, putting her down to 400 health, shattering her from combat. So no more Soul Stealer for the Dark Elves other than from the Slaanesh Harvester, and no more annoying Morathi melee debuffs. This put the Dark Elf on a massive back foot. As you can see here, the balance of power is denting heavily in the favor of the Tomb Kings with that leadership loss. Now back to the front line. The surviving Necropolis Knights, despite losing their comrades in battle, are able to crunch through all these Black Ark Corsairs and now getting into the backs of these Dark Riders who are pinned down by the Nehekharan horsemen. And now these Dark Riders will be routing, allowing the Necropolis Knights to push away all these Dark Riders, preventing them from firing as they do not have 360 shooting and they do not have moving while firing. This eliminates some of that armor-piercing fire support for the Dark Elves, allowing the Tomb King's characters to fight in relatively safe conditions. So Settra is able to charge into melee combat, drop a Wrath of Trap, blasting away these Dark Riders. Routing them with the support of these Nehekharan horsemen. They are beat up but they are still fighting. While over here, Scourge Runner chariots are rolling over the King Nakash Scorpion Legion, but in turn they're also getting dragged down by the anti-large attacks. Also being poisoned, they are getting debuffed quite a bit as well. A Soul Stealer dropped onto this Tomb King's blob, catching all the characters and a lot of units. But don't worry, this is not from Morathi, instead they are from the Slaanesh Harvester, who have Soul Stealer as a bound spell. Healing some of their HP, they try to charge in and do as much damage as possible. But unfortunately for the Dark Elves, the Realm of Souls healings kicks in for the Tomb Kings. This gives Tomb King's unit a little bit more staying power. Now for a quick overview, Skeleton Spears and also Tomb Guards here are pushing away all these Dark Elf units. Skeleton Spears and the Nehekharan Horsemen will be absorbing a lot of these armor-piercing missiles of the Scourge Runners and the Dark Riders. A worthy trade for the Legions of Camry, as one more shot into them is one less shot into Settra. Over here, the Slaanesh Harvester are getting caught by the Tomb Prince, and now with the Tomb Guard pushing through, the squishy light cav has to get away from combat as soon as possible. Especially now that their physical resistance, their only protection is stripped away by the Tomb Prince item, the Blade of Settra. On the far side, we have some Tomb Guard chasing away the Black Ark Corsairs, getting at least a chevron in combat, while over here, Necropolis Knights just chasing all these Dark Riders who are leading them onto a little merry-go-round here. Still, I would say it's a win for the Tomb Kings as they are disabling the armor-piercing fire onto their crucial heroes. While over here, an Ushapti is summoned, pinning down these Dark Riders, finishing them off, also absorbing a lot of fire from the Dark Riders with crossbows. Down here, we can see that the Scourge Runner chariots running over some skeletons, but they are making a crucial mistake as they are firing into the skeletons, actively losing balance of power as they do so. I've covered this in one of my how to multiplayer videos before. Ammo counts as balance of power, and shooting expensive Scourge Runner bolts into skeletons actually make you lose more than you earn. The skeletons are most certainly cackling from gaining so much value by absorbing the shots. And now the Skeleton Spears engaging on some Dread Spears while the Ushapti is busy pushing away the Dark Riders. You can see here, units are all over the place right now, with the Tomb Prince relentlessly chasing down the Slaanesh Harvesters, Necropolis Knights still going after the Dark Riders. Being undead and whatnot, they surely have the patience to slowly chase down their opponents. Over here, Settra trying to finish off the last of the Black Ark Corsairs. Not a lot of units left on the battlefield, and the Dark Riders desperately trying to focus down Settra the Imperishable. So let us fast forward a bit as the battle is getting a little bit skirmishy right now. Necropolis Knights got hit by a volley of armor-piercing crossbows, but they don't really care as they switch targets and go after the Slaanesh Harvesters instead, once and for all seeing them off the battlefield. While Settra the Imperishable charging into the Hellebronai with the support of some Tomb Guards. No doubt they will be winning this combat while the Tomb Prince is absorbing some ammo from the Dark Riders. And remember, every shot not landing is balance of power loss for the Dark Elves, and as such the Dark Elves will be hitting army losses for exhausting their shots. Now before we go into the army performances, I would like to say a big thanks to anyone who's still watching this, and also of course big thanks to the Omens here sending in this replay. Really appreciate your continuous effort for sending in so many replays and showing us these fun battles. And for the viewers, I hope you enjoy my video. If you do, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe to get notified every time I upload a new video. They'll be covering topics including battle replays like this one, tips and strategies for online multiplayer, as well as more wild army builds for Total Warhammer. And if you have any battle replays that you want to showcase, feel free to drop by my Discord or send me an email with the replay file attached. I'll be sure to check them out. The Discord is linked down in the comment section below, so just open it and click it and you should be there. Now for a quick rundown of army performances. This battle can be summed up in a single sentence: Settra does not simp. Settra there doing 1400 damage, as well as the Tomb Prince doing 1000 damage. They sniped out Morathi. Really crucial here, as Morathi, her power lies not within her melee prowess, but her ability to regenerate magic and constantly spam Soul Stealer. Settra and the Prince using that blinding effect to debuff Morathi, ignoring those melee modifier shenanigans, successfully sniping her out, as she is not exactly the tankiest character around here, mostly relying on the constant healing from Soul Stealers as well as her melee debuffs shenanigans to stay alive. By ignoring the deadly beauty of the seductive Enchantress, Settra and the Tomb Prince was able to gain a massive surplus in balance of power and deny Dark Elves from their Soul Stealer and melee debuff shenanigans. Now, the Tomb Kings didn't exactly win the battle with damage dealing. As you can see here, most of their units didn't really recover their own value here. You can say everything here is underperforming, unable to dish out enough damage, but how did they win? Well, you can say that the Dark Elves lost this battle by shooting everything into things that don't matter. Remember, balance of power includes the ammo on your units, and that means every shot you shoot needs to recover a certain amount of ammo to make those losses worth it. You need to make up for the deficit in balance of power caused by ammo loss with the damage dealt on your opponents. Failing to do so is the equivalent of losing HP in the game. Of course, Morathi's death in the early game is a huge reason why the Dark Elves lost, but also the ammo all shot into places that don't matter. You can see that the Scourge Runner Chariots, 600 value on this one, 800 value on this one, and they expanded all their ammo as well. So you can conclude that most of those ammo were shot into skeletons, where they are dirt cheap and the ammo is not exactly earning the value they worth. Same goes for the Dark Riders here, as they only earn 350 gold on this one. These two earn more value, this one 330 gold, and they expanded most of their ammo as well. Not worth it at all in terms of trade. And unfortunately, the infantry of the Dark Elves were not able to do too much here, nor were the Dark Riders able to earn back much value by being routed from the terror of the Necropolis Knights. Slaanesh Harvester did much better, as they were able to do some Soul Stealer and Word of Pain shenanigans, debuffing and sucking the life out of the Tomb King's cavalry. They had some pretty decent moments, but still, Morathi losing her early, unable to spam Soul Stealer, really hurt the Dark Elves. Anyways, that's basically it for today. I hope you enjoyed the battle. Seeing Tomb Kings using Settra the Imperishable, curb stomping Morathi, melting her in a few seconds in combat is certainly satisfying to watch. So I hope you enjoyed this battle. That's it for today, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.